We're good to go?
Yep, we're good to go. Off of mute, and we are in this game, doing it again through Discord. And so we're on turn 2, and it's looking like Thresh Nasus into Ezreal Draven, a matchup that we've seen a few times here in the tournament thus far. So what are we looking here, guys, as the game progresses?
The Ezreal Draven has a lot of removal, so it's going to be pretty difficult, actually, for Reborn to maybe stack up the slays that you want. As we've seen this matchup play out over and over and over again, we know that the key factor is simply having a healthy Nasus in play, that your opponent can't threaten with the Scorched Earth or double Ravenous Flock into. And I think that Reborn probably is going to pick up on that pretty quickly after playing this matchup from both sides throughout today and yesterday.
And Reborn opted to actually stream the game through Discord, so we are getting the game sound absolutely spoiled here by Reborn. Thank you so much for doing that. We're swinging right now for 3. Not much, but we may be able to unlock that Cursed Keeper with Spirit Leech next turn.
Exactly what you want to see here. You definitely want to get lots of draw cards here in this matchup, so you can really cycle through your deck, and as your opponent's going to have less draw in their deck, it really helps you keep up with efficiency. Also, having this right in negation could be huge when we get that Nasus turned down.
So you like opting to play it a little slower, have those have that fuel to go into the late game, as opposed to trying to swarm early and then run out of steam.
Well, swarm early is good too. I mean, honestly, you want the best of both worlds, but the hand that we're dealt here could definitely work with the situation as well.
Yeah. Rummage, super powerful there, being able to just discard those 2 axes, turn dead cards into resources, and we see a bot coming down that does that as well. Going to be able to get that consistent chip damage. We do have a Black Spear available. We may be using it this turn as well. Nope, opting to pass it back.
Yeah, saving the Black Spear for a bigger target down the road. If you've got the Thresh waiting to drop, you're going to remove these units either way. And this is another matchup where, you know, if Tri-Beam and Populator is in the hand of Arrow, it's getting stacked up, that this is where you want to start cashing it in when it's stacked up to 2 or 3, just to keep these boards even here.
Reborn truly showing off the power of this board right now as they blow up a literal planet under the playing field.
It's a lot of eye candy going on in the background here, but Thresh does not care. He's going to travel across the entire cosmos to make sure he gets his prey, and Draven looks like he's going down here for certain.
You love to see the mirrored boards. It just looks so clean. The circle, full circle being made, and the tails on both sides.
So Culling coming down, that is such a key card in this matchup to deal with the Thresh. A Glimpse in response saying, okay, Thresh is going down, I'm going to convert it into resources instead. And along with that Slay Trigger, which is very important as we get into these later turns. Nasus currently at a 4-4. 5-5.
So the early work has been done, and Arrow is just barely holding things together. Both sides have tons of cards and tons of resources to work with, and it's just, as we get into the later stages of the game, not enough work has been done. It's not just about surviving in this matchup. Arrow needs to start sticking some threats and needs to start fighting for tempo. And so what do you think, Duckling? Just another wide development? Yeah, opts not for the Nasus here.
Yeah, I think we want to get the Nasus a little bit bigger before we drop him.
A lot of players in this matchup, it's kind of a tall order to pull off, but they like being able to play Nasus when it's equal or greater than the amount of opponent's HP on the Ezreal Draven side, and pair that with an immediate atrocity. It is a game-winning combo that's unstoppable from the Ezreal Draven side, but to be able to set that up from the Thresh Nasus side takes a whole lot of work in planning.
And that just means that every bit of chip damage that's getting around from Reborn here matters. Every time you can hit the Nasus directly, you know Ezreal Draven can't heal it off, and that's just going to be less work you have to do to stack up your Nasus Slays. If Rite of Calling does connect here, potentially drawing another Thresh, oh, does get sidestepped by Mystic Shot, and you can really see how much pressure Arrow is under when you're willing to stop that tutor.
Yeah, good choice there to kill the prey as well, as opposed to the Sand Soldier. It does prevent a block from the Ballistic Bot, and is just a great sack target for Draven. Opting here to use the Black Spear to deal with the Ezreal, saying, I cannot let this get out of hand in terms of Mystic Shot generation. So I like that line of play as well. Nasus is currently at a 6-6.
About a medium-sized doggo here. Still a bit to go before we get him big enough to be into atrocity range.
Yeah, a lot of work still needs to be done. The Spirit Leeches at this position are going to be pretty well timed, I think, because that's just card draw that your opponent isn't going to be able to disrupt but with a removal spell either. With your board full of 1 HP units, Static Shocks coming from Arrow would be massive. And now we're starting to get to the point where Arrow actually has some units in play to fight back.
Yeah, Thorn of the Rose is an interesting inclusion in this deck. Obviously helps to buff up that Tri-Beam and provides a stun, but that 1 HP stat point doesn't feel the best into Thresh Nasus that goes for wide boards of low attack units, as well as access to Vile Feast. It can really devalue the card a little bit here, but going wider is what Arrow wants to be doing right now, and that is what they are doing.
Yeah, this is nice here. Any trade that we can force Arrow to make will be another slay for our Nasus, and any extra chip damage into the face for trades that he doesn't take means that we don't need the Nasus to be as large. So I really like this play here. If the opponent does have the Static Shock, that's only dealing with 2 of them, and there's still 2 3-1s and a 2-1 that you have to worry about, as well as this Bakai Reaper.
Yeah, Reborn just going wide, as you talked about, putting Arrow in this terrible catch-22 situation. If I take the damage, it puts me back. It puts me behind. If I let them get the Slay proc, then it puts them even further ahead at a bigger Nasus. And right now, even if there's only 4 blockers in play, some damage is guaranteed, and that means you get to have it both ways here with Reborn as we head into the late game.
I just want to double check here. No Death Lotus, right? Yeah, no Death Lotus.
Oh wow, that would be such a brutal card right now on the side of Reborn. Literally 5 out of 6 units representing 1 HP, but I mean, into Arrow's board, these units are pretty devastating with their current stat lines. A stun coming down, just try to lessen this attack a little bit, manage it a little bit, adding a blocker as well. Opting to kill the Dune Keeper, okay.
Yeah, killing the unit that has the lowest attack just means that what you are swinging with is still going to be threatening to trade up and get those slays. If you were in a better position, of course, Reborn probably would just simply slay the stunned unit and get a big swing. So I do like this as well. However, you know, Reborn, by swinging with this board and basically cashing it in, will be left without the means to perhaps use the Spirit Leech and Glimpse Beyond the way they want to reload. If Arrow can survive this onslaught in a meaningful way, maybe has a few more units and body blockers in hand, Reborn could actually maybe just run out of resources here and is just relying on a Nasus with no atrocity and no backup.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting to see potentially a full block into a Flock or something like that to just completely brick a Glimpse, brick Spirit Leech, and leave Reborn with few options to draw. But yeah, they're going for a full block here. We may not have much steam left in the tank depending on how this turn plays out.
Yeah, as we go into the next round, if Arrow says, okay, I want to answer this 3-1 specifically to, you know, take away the option of Spirit Leech, and if that's responded to with a Glimpse Beyond, You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of ways the stack could go. And
That's a lot of NASA stacks, though, right, Scarzig?
It actually perfectly puts him at 13 attack.
Wow.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. With this right, we're just looking for an atrocity here.
Oh, Farron is played. Nasus is in the clear, can take a block on this Farron or go for the swing next turn. We could be using the glimpse here to dig as well if we wanted to, but this is some of the best Nasus timing I've seen. I mean, it's very safe to play right now.
Yeah, puts down the guile to remove this, push through with Captain Farron. But Reborn has to block. Do you just take the full 8, go for your glimpse instead?
Yeah, I think so here. We really need that atrocity, right?
Well, yeah, right? If you do block with only 1 HP right now, you are going down to 10. There are 2 axes represented as well, so it could be a lethal with the double decimate if they opt to use both axes here on the side of Arrow. But this 13-13 Nasus is going to be tough to deal with an open attack.
Yeah, so the glimpse will come through, the overwhelm will swing through for maximum, and I think that Arrow will take advantage of this to push through some extra damage with the axes. It means that the more damage you can do now, maybe you threaten to burn over top of the atrocity.
Yeah, I think if you're going for the glimpse here, you just press OK, since it wasn't stopping any damage anyways.
Right.
I think that might have been a slight misplay here from Reborn. Do the glimpse on your action here, not giving him the chance to axe.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. And we do have a deny here, or, yeah, a right available for Reborn, so that we'll be able to potentially stop one of the decimates. Development or open attack is a tough question here. What do you guys think?
Reborn knows.
Attack. I like open attack because there's no way for him to kill the Nasus right now. If we develop, it gives the opportunity for the opponent to damage the Nasus first.
Or stun, right? Stopping the swing.
Or stun, exactly. Making it really awkward. Open attack will guaranteed give us spell shield on this Nasus, meaning that a top deck atrocity will always have us there, especially with this right
pass there from
Instant
Arrow's
pass.
side is very intimidating. You would expect something to be played there to prevent this Nasus swing.
Yeah, you want to try to just close out with the guillotine before the draws come through, right? I think that the development of the Dunekeeper, with instead of going for the open attack with the Nasus, maybe shows that Reborn is actually hunting for an atrocity to finish things out. I wonder if Arrow will pick up on this, or if missing out on that action would be enough.
We did have
being very careful.
Go for it.
To leave it. Sorry, being very careful to leave Atrocity Man up here as the bluff. That's why I think they opted to not go for the Spirit Leech. So they just want to. They'll probably take this attack here and then look to Spirit Leech afterwards, leaving the opponent wondering, does he have Atrocity?
And Arrow not developing anything here.
Or not. I might be wrong.
We can only speculate, Duckling. It completely matters. Or even if Reborn was going to go for that line and decided against it, like, what's the point of threatening atrocity this turn? But
this is a wide swing, pushing a lot of damage.
This makes a lot of sense.
If the Nasus was able to be dealt with this turn, you do still have a decent-sized board, and you are pushing for, what is that, 10 damage outside of the Nasus.
And I think that we're
11,
just...
yeah.
And I think that Arrow is just on a race against this atrocity clock. The double decimate technically isn't guaranteed because of, like, Vile Feast and stuff. But with the rest of the cards in hand, like, you do have card advantage. I think that the chance of having extra burn, yeah, see with the Static Shock, to stop some of this is relevant.
So, yeah, the Static Shock, it's a good spell to ping off spell shields, but that's not how it's going to be used, so maybe there's another way to deal with the spell shield Nasus on the side of Arrow here, but there may not be.
And so with the remaining 5 mana, is Arrow just going to throw down the Decimate and try to maybe set up a anti-atrocity like burn on the stack, and then with a top deck, a really clutch top deck, there will be enough mana for atrocity and then Rite of Negation anyway.
I think an Ezreal coming down this turn would be an absolute threat that Arrow could present if they have it in hand. It would mean that maybe you're potentially able to chunk down that 8 HP pretty efficiently with your mana. Opting for a pass instead, I think you do want to dig with Spirit Leech here and look for that atrocity. You don't need the right to stop a lethal here this turn on the side of Reborn.
And
Arrow that's Mystic. He has 5 mana, so I'm wondering if that's Mystic Scorched Earth there, and if that's what Reborn's slightly concerned about. Yeah, I could see the pass here to play around that.
Wow. Second Nasus is quite a good draw. We'll just replay it, and it is leveled, so it will have that spell shield.
And so Arrow is in a position where the lethal pretty much needs to come through this round. And with the Nasus' spell shield not being popped, you're able to potentially swing, just an open swing. Even the Ravenous Butcher and Escaped Abomination would do it. The debuff on level 2 Nasus means that this Arachnoid Sentry still won't be able to block the Fearsome, and this tells us for certain, I believe, that the Scorched Earth will come through.
Just a Vile Feast there, soft passing back. Don't want to commit just too much mana yet. We see an Ezreal coming down. Like I said, quite a threat right now when you have 9 HP on the side of Reborn. It'll be interesting to see how he chooses to deal with this. Do you want to commit the Siphoning Strike with the deny this turn, or do you just play it slow?
Yeah, if you use the Siphoning Strike here, it potentially just gets answered by Scorched Earth. And notably, because there was that hover and the hesitation and the pass, I'm wondering if that was some sort of next level mind game, right? Where maybe that's not a Scorched Earth at all, but the atrocity is found.
This is quite the game, guys.
Wow.
This is another really close game.
So now we have the luxury, I think, of just sitting back and saying you have to try to kill this Nasus. You don't need to jam the atrocity just yet. And Arrow opting to push for more damage to the face, just evening this race out. Again, we've seen these matches come down to within a hair of a distance for both players. And we're seeing that happen yet again, just so close, neck and neck.
I think Reborn really has the hand he needs here. Having the right as well will allow us to have both available in the open attack next turn. I think Arrow's considering pushing this turn, which I think is a good call.
Okay, it's worth noting there are double axes in hand, right? Those both represent... Oh, oh, my bad. I was like, wow, that would have been crazy.
Like all day, but they're decimates. Yeah.
Good catch, thank you. Okay, so he can't burst lethal yet or do anything crazy like that, but is threatening right now 3 more damage to the face.
He actually could with double rummage though. And
wow. But still has mana for that Scorched Earth. This is a really tough fork right now being presented to Reborn.
It is.
I think I like the deny play.
Yeah, I think...
If you right here,
yeah,
it opens up the Scorch to go onto the Nasus, and then you just develop... but then if you develop the Nasus at the beginning of the next round, then Decimate goes on the stack. You don't have enough mana to do Nasus plus Atrocity.
No, you do, right? You do, yeah. You do? Right will leave you exactly with 3.
Exactly?
Yep, you'll have 13. So that is...
that's the line.
It's a safe play and definite... Oh, destroying a mana crystal, he'll still go... Oh, no, opting to just jam the Atrocity right here. Is Scorched Earth the card that's been held back this entire time?
No.
Oh, it's only a flop! Reborn takes it!
Calls the bluff!
Representing the PC Gamer Nation, Reborn taking this game home.
Ooh. Oh my god, it was a mind game! The hover from the previous match.
That's so smart.
That's so smart. I wonder what Reborn picked up on there, not to just try to let the Nasus die. Again, was fearing, I suppose, just the burst lethal line from the leveled up Ezreal. Wow.
Head plays out of Arrow here.
So
Really
we're going
showing the
to
skill of these two
a game 3, huh?
No, I think that was just the game 1.
Oh wait, that was just
wait into game 2.
Yeah, right.
Wow, I've been casting a lot. That was just game 1, and what a close game it was. Now looking to hop over to the Irelia Azir, a deck that we all know from ladder has been performing very successfully. Going to be playing it into Draven potentially here on the Arrow side. Wow.
Whew.
A monster of game 1.
That's an aspect of this game that really does not get enough appreciation. Just hovering something, putting it back, the way that you slowly creep your way down to 3 mana to just convince your opponent as much as possible that you have a certain card. And Reborn just let her rip and called that bluff. What an insane read. And now we're going to see Irelia Azir, which went unbanned. Arrow feeling confident in Ezreal Draven being able to take down this list.
But for the NA play, if they have it, they have it.
They have it, they have it. And that's something that I think can't be overstated enough is when you get to these high levels of play, the mind games are out of control. You have so much bluff potential, being able to hover spells, hold back mana, play reactively. It really makes your opponents nervous whether or not you have the answer for the situation. So exactly what we're seeing Arrow do there, and Reborn just saying, I have to jam it right now, and getting the win because of it. So great to see those kind of high-level plays being made on both sides.
And Ezreal Draven into this Azir deck. It's like, when you consider the tools that are available to Ezreal Draven, it seems like it would be favored, but we already talked about how this list is not running Death Lotus, which would be a premium tech. Scorched Earth does swing down into Emperor's Dais, so you're losing on a little bit of efficiency there. And you also, are maybe trying to hope your Culling Strikes can find the right targets, but Sparring Student already dealing 3 damage right out of the gate.
I think Reborn making a slight misplay there, not slinging with the ephemeral unit, kind of realizing it afterwards.
Yep, opponent is not playing Thresh Nasus. You don't have to worry about those slays.
Considering using the think emote there.
Yeah. I mean, after such an intense game 1, Reborn is probably just shaking right now and just needs to take a deep breath and get back into the mindset. Static Shock being presented. And Sparring Student is going to be kept alive here with the Shaped Stone. Need to have a unit in play to activate his ear.
5/5.
Save the Yeti indeed. And so Sparring Student gets to swing through once again with the rest of his buddies. And the Dais perfectly timed alongside the Dune Keeper here.
Yeah, Sparring Student has really found a deck that fits its potential. I mean, the card is absolutely exploded and is an absolute threat in every game that it's played, often trading up with cards of much higher value, and its attack and health stats just getting out of control. We see a Culling Strike here coming down onto the Azir. That is one of the huge swings that you need from the Draven Ezreal side to be able to contain the power level of this deck. Azir is such a strong backline engine, creating those extra Sand Soldiers.
So once again takes the hit from Sparring Student, is trying to get maximum chump blocking value out of these House Spiders, and Arrow just waiting for the right moment to answer this Sparring Student before it gets another big swing.
Reborn most likely hoping to find some Blade Dance effects here. We have the Marshals, which is good, but we really need the value of spawning multiple units at burst speed to really capitalize on them.
Yeah, I mean, the Marshals are coming down, but it's starting to feel like the winds are changing, and Ezreal Draven is stabilizing. Would you guys agree? I mean, the board is right now, unit for unit, and we don't have many ways to trigger the effects of these marshals. Potentially a flock coming down this turn as well to clean that up, that first marshal. Yep.
Being forced into a curve like this, right, where you're committing all of your mana to a big play, gives the Ezreal Draven player the means to actually confidently cast the removal, not worrying about Nopify or lead and follow. But the sparring student is still getting stacked up and is ready for another big swing. We'll see what the rummage finds.
Yeah, I mean, double duo here is a strong play if there are no fast speed spells to deal with it. But that is kind of what Ezreal Draven is made of.
And normally when you're facing down Ezreal Draven, you're so worried about them, again, getting that board set up, getting those synergies ready to go. But Azir being taken down, the first Inspiring Marshal being taken down, there is still a lot of elusive damage being threatened here, but a lot of tools on the side of Arrow to still withstand this onslaught, and Reborn might just run out of fuel.
Yeah, it is looking like that may be the case. Opting not even to stun this turn maybe means that there's another answer that Reborn has to be worried about.
Yeah, Sparring Student gets held back versus the 5-1 here. The massive attack stat line allows it to efficiently swing into this Sparring Student potentially. But 4 HP, despite your ways of keeping the board under control, this little bit of damage that's been accumulating over the course of the game has been adding up. And now, finally, the blade dances are coming through.
Duckling, would you have liked to see the stun last turn being used? I mean, 4 HP is not very much left here on the side of Arrow.
Yeah, I don't see another opportunity when you're going to be able to use that as well. Because as we see here, Reborn's down to 2 cards in hand, or now 1. And most of the attacks are going to be open attacks. Okay, so maybe this was to try to get an Ezreal attack through, I guess, if he has a way of stunning the second one. But yeah, I agree that the 4 life total is probably a little bit more important. It's hard to say, though, without seeing Arrow's hand for sure.
Right, yeah, it's looking close.
At the very least, all of Reborn's cards are on the table. There's nothing left in the hand to play around. You know all of your removals are going to do what they want to do. And even maintaining the Thorn of the Rose here, again, just keep that big stat line. There is no attack token as well from Reborn. And that means that when you go into the next round, all of the summons and buffs that you have done onto the Sparring Student and the Green Glade Duo will just disappear. And here it is. The removals are now starting to come through. If this current board can get answered efficiently, then Reborn won't be able to push the damage that he wants. Only 1 Sand Soldier being generated on top of this wide swing.
EC might just have lethal here, to be honest. Arrow might just have lethal here. Not this turn, but like next turn in response to the attack. We have the axes in hand. Oh, I'm not going to use the axe. That's a little weird. I'm a bit surprised by that, to be honest.
Yeah, you can spinning
axe
to push damage. It still triggers Ezreal.
Okay, there's a flock coming down, maybe to deal with the Marshal. And then Ez can block onto the duo. And Sparring Student plus Sand Soldier will still be presenting lethal, actually. There needs to be an answer here in the hand of Arrow. The Summon Sand Soldier will buff the Sparring Student. We have a retreat as well coming down, maybe able to stop some of that damage if there is a spell being cast.
And so we'll see if there's enough burn in Arrow's hand. Ezreal goes down for the block, the exact lethal being presented. Will it matter that the axes weren't cast last round to push that damage to the Nexus?
Whatever card Arrow is hovering there is the top deck. Top deck's a Mystic Shot. Very fortunate top deck there on the Arrow side. Do we use Retreat here? I think you have to. That's an important card, and just hope you draw into a Blade Dance effect next turn.
Really strange. Double axe plus Mystic Shot was lethal, and like Nopify stops it anyways. I'm really surprised he didn't go for that. Like axing 2 different cards out of your hand, and then Mystic Shot was exactly 5 damage.
Yeah, we do have a Draven coming down, adding an extra axe, but you're not really able to cast all those axes. You can't discard the full hand yet. Okay, we see some coming down. Yeah, I think it was a bit of a missed lethal opportunity there on the side of Arrow, but the stabilization was enough. This swing looks very strong. Drawing a Dais on the Reborn side, not going to be enough. And, guys, we're going to a Game 3 again in this set.
2
Love to see
HP gamer in the finals. These games have been so close. Aurelia Azir didn't get enough synergy and pressure to stick. The sparring student did so much work in the early mid game, but answering the Azir, answering the inspiring Marshall, taking away the 2 biggest threats was the way to go. So now Aurelia Azir going to make a reappearance in game 3, and Arrow's going to try to find that final win. And again, you really have to give props to Arrow just for not banning this deck out and saying, no, I can win. I can beat this deck twice.
Yeah, we saw the List Trundle player as well take that line, and it worked out for them. Now we have Aurelia Azir into the Lady of the Clouds. Duckling, what is your thought on this matchup?
Okay, so I will say Arrow's list is teched better to deal with Aurelia Azir, but from my experience, I don't think there's a way to build the deck where it's actually favored against Aurelia Azir. It seems like it's just too tough of a matchup. No matter how much healing you have, no matter if you have Mask Mother plus Scourge, which we see here.
Oh, and Homecoming in the opening hand.
Homecoming just goes so far.
Yeah, Homecoming can get so much done, right? Protect your own unit and just remove a huge attacker from Arrow's board. And what this Azir Aurelia deck does well is just presenting board of threats after board of threats without costing too many resources, honestly. So going to be interesting to see how this game develops if Arrow is able to stabilize and take it into those later turns.
And again, I love the fact that Arrow has teched this deck for this matchup and has made it to the finals. And this is the first time we're seeing this Lady of Clouds variant go toe-to-toe with the Azir Aurelia, but I imagine that there might have been a few more players in the Swiss rounds that maybe the technology was able to come through against. We'll see how this shakes out. Despite having the Homecoming in hand, Reborn does still need to play around a lot of Challenger units, a lot of Fearsome units now with Mask Mother and Elise, as well as a lot of strike effects to just keep the board under control. And if you're playing against something like Lady of Clouds, which is not a very popular deck as of yet, you might be lacking that specific matchup experience.
100%, and I like the play here, opting to use the retreat when there's no single combat mana available and cheating out that Azir one turn early. Also returning the Dune Keeper, going to be able to buff up that sparring student again. Going... Oh, Aurelia, yeah, such a powerhouse.
Good draw here.
The engine is online.
Yeah, I'll say there's probably about a 52% chance that Reborn wins this game after that draw.
Absolutely savage commentary there from Duckling. Chat's gonna love that one in about 5 minutes. And so we have the exact mana point here for Aurelia to be able to be played and then summon that Blade Dance. I like opening with the Dune Keeper first, not fully committing to showing the Aurelia. And now, here we go, Azir Aurelia doing Azir Aurelia things.
Flawless Duet coming down. This is going to summon an extra wave of Sand Soldiers. The only card missing from this absolutely devastating board setup is the Emperor's Dais. Elise and the Laurent Protégé will do a good job of blocking as much as they can, but there is still an attack token ready to go on Reborn's side.
Something that I'm curious to see how it comes into play is the healing that's available in Arrow's deck, right? We have Radiant Guardians, we have Scourge, and if a Radiant Guardian is put on the board, I've found that it's very hard for the Aurelia Azir side to deal with that. The tokens just continually offer healing to Arrow. So if that card is able to stick on the board, going to be a key swing in the matchup.
That's what you're hoping for, the Radiant Guardian to come down and just carry you to victory. The Aurelia, of course, being held back, so she continues to take advantage of that level up progress and generate another Flawless Duet.
Opting to not block the student here. Yeah, I think you do have to do that, and if you have Radiant in hand, you definitely want to be keeping this Protege alive, able to sack it next turn, potentially into a Sparring Student or Aurelia, and then play a Radiant, but still, there's going to be so many threats available here on the side of Reborn.
Yeah, I like the call here. Blocking the sparring student is key. Even if we have lots of healing in hand, we need a chance for that healing to activate, right? So I think this is a good call here by Arrow. And time to find out if he has. It looks like he does with this attack.
Yeah, if you attack in like this to get the trade, if your opponent tries to sidestep with lead and follow, then you don't have to worry about homecoming. But Shape Stone is going to just grant the +1/+1 to save Aurelia here.
Would have been an interesting call to use the lead and follow on the Aurelia to stop the opponent's unit from dying and then not blocking the spider. It's therefore not allowing the Radiant Guardian to activate. Maybe we're just not too worried about it because we do have the homecoming in hand. And looks like he's not going for the Radiant anyways.
Okay, opting to maybe save the Aurelia or go for a homecoming. Yep, less of a mana commitment, and that homecoming may come into play more in the later game. This is vulnerable to single, of course. No single being used right now, and only pushing 2 damage here on the side of Arrow.
And the Glimpse Beyond will come in handy here just for the fact that you're trying to cycle through the deck. You're looking for that Radiant Guardian if you don't have it yet. You're looking for the Dark Water Scourge and Mask Mother. And just a little bit more damage being pushed through. The Sharp Sight did a lot of work there. The Protege still lives to fight another day, still to block some more damage.
I don't think you want to develop the Marshal this turn. You'd rather go for the Board Flood, and having that Syncopation spell able to be used is just so key. 0 mana, burst speed, very hard to interact with.
Yeah, an extra attacker being created alongside this swing means that Aurelia can swap into an open slot, get that extra 5 damage through. Probably even more because of the Shapestone. It is only +1/+1 still with no Deus, but every little bit of damage counts. And with Flawless Duet now being cast, Homecoming is off the table with a block and into a Radiant Guardian development that could be enough here with a single combat if it was saved from last round.
So Homecoming now off the table with the mana commitment of the Blade Dance. What we expected to see here, there has to be probably a combat spell to answer this. Otherwise, Reborn side looking very strong, presenting a lot of damage this turn.
Not even using the the Blade Surge there. Doesn't want any chance to.
Yeah, this is tough here on the side of Arrow. Now with the Syncopation in hand, we're going to create another one, if I'm correct. That's going to allow for 2 swaps. You're probably going to be able to dodge this Lifesteal. We would need a Sharp Sight or something potentially to buff it up. But this is looking tough to deal with here on the side of Arrow. We see a Shen emote coming out. They may know that their time is nigh.
Yeah, even with the healing from the Radiant Guardian, it's just not going to be enough from this position. With double Blade Surge in hand, you can swap Aurelia and then swap back in to bring the Azir out to play, or bring the Sparring Student as well to hit. So there is a single combat, as a matter of fact. Going to try to get a double dip of healing here, but it just won't matter. Actually, you don't get the double dip anyway because it's ephemeral. So this was gotten off of Stalking Shadows?
So couldn't we switch Aurelia with Sand Soldier and Sand Soldier with Azir?
Yeah, oh yeah, you could just put the Azir in that
that
slot.
would work too. I think there's.
So how does the No! Wait. Oh, I was gonna say, I think there was a more optimal switch line there, but it does not matter. The lethal is found with Shapestone onto the Sparring Student. A 1 mana unit dealing 7 damage is just too much to handle here. for the Clouds deck, and that's going to make Reborn the first champion of the Duckling and Sqweeby community Brawl Stars. What a game, what a series, guys.
Can you guys hear me? All right.
Let's go!
Alright.
Congratulations!
Congrats, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The competition was pretty crazy. I was very happy with just getting a couple wins early on, so being able to string along a win streak was real nice.
Yeah, I mean, your performance in the open rounds was something we were watching very closely. You had some insanely close games against Psycho, who went 6-0 in the open rounds. But that was your first set today, right, in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, yeah. My 2 losses today. The first one was, or my 2 losses from yesterday, because I made it in 4-2. The 2 people that I lost to, I had to play in quarterfinals and semifinals to play into the finals. So that's like some redemption arc type stuff.
Nice, you got the redemption. And speaking of redemption arcs and anime, in that game with Nasus, you put that atrocity on the stack. Did you pick up on some signal that the Scorched Earth was a bluff there? Or were you just like, no, I just have to let it rip here. I've got the second Nasus. Like, what was the thought process there?
I think I ended up just letting it rip. 'Cause I think my health total, if it's how I recall, I think I lost to 2 rummage, which are burst speed, and I can't interact with it. So I didn't want to be put in a spot where they could rummage. Either they had 2 in their hand now, or they rummage into another rummage. So at some point, you got to let it rip. And I think I'm not 100% sure how exactly to play that matchup, because I feel like sometimes I feel like you can kind of fork your opponent into having to show their hand when you're on the Nasus and Thresh side, but I wasn't able to do it in any of my games, so I just let it rip, and don't let them draw, more stuff.
Yeah, that's fair, and it paid off. It paid off. How did you feel that Arrow decided not to ban Aurelia Azir? Were you just really glad you could play such a powerful deck, or were you worried that the match was going to be very heavily targeting it?
No, I was super happy to play that matchup. Not necessarily because of the matchup spread. I need to get in a lot more games in general to really know how all the matchups go. But I've been grinding Azir Aurelia basically the entire ladder up to where I'm at now in Masters. So that was definitely my most comfortable pick. In like the first 4 rounds of Open, I was able to win all those playing Azir Aurelia. I felt super comfortable. And then the last 2 matchups, they banned it, and I'm definitely very uncomfortable with Nasus Draven at this point. I've been trying to get some games in, but the meta shifted a lot. I played it a lot last patch, and with this patch, it's just I need to get in more practice. So I was definitely uncomfortable with Thresh Nasus. So I'm interested to go back to the commentary and see if you all are pulling your hair out at some of the decision making that I made.
No, we didn't see anything that was too crazy. I think that chat might have been a little bit harder on you than we were. But that's just how it goes, right? Everybody that comes to view these tournaments are Galaxy Brain Master Tier already.
Always, never make a misplay in their life.
And and so take it with a grain of salt. You won in the finals. You know what I mean? You beat the tournament. You made it through the Swiss rounds. So regardless, everybody has room to improve. And you still don't forget to enjoy this accomplishment for sure and savor that prize money.
I do want to say, Reborn, thank you so much for bringing it home for the PC gamers, proving once and for all we are the dominant player base of Runeterra. I do think that you have your streaming as well. You can plug yourself and anyone that helped you practice leading up for this tournament. That now's the time.
Honestly, a lot of my practice was just kind of solo queue, as well as just watching a lot of streamers that are better than me. So everyone that has been streaming, definitely keep streaming. It helps a ton to be able to think through the game while not having the time to play it. So that's always a blast. I know there's quite a few regulars in my chat that are there to support me. Anubis, Toxic Power, Sqweeby, you were in there once or twice.
I've been in there, yeah.
So I appreciate
I'll take credit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everybody in chat, go head over and watch Reborn on Twitch, Reborn NA, right? _NA.
Yeah, Reborn _NA. I do real quick, because I'm not really sure how it plays. I don't know how old the Ez Draven matchup is, like the mirror. but when I played it in the semifinals, I've tried to play the matchup a lot more proactively, and I feel like I always get punished by trying to be proactive. How does that matchup usually go, or is it kind of split? Like
It
I
is
played
interesting that you bring that up because we were very shocked because typically in the mirror match, players do opt to be a bit more proactive, right?
yeah.
Where you're using your tri-beam and populators on 2 or 3 damage just to keep an advantage on the board. I
Okay.
think that after the Captain Farron nerf, because it's not as much of a reliable finisher in and of itself, the early damage matters a little bit less. And so actually by playing the matchup slower, it allowed both players to just play for maximum tri-beam and populator value. So it is definitely an interesting paradigm shift. And in retrospect, you made the correct decision to play that matchup the way you did, just floating that and relying on stacking those removals as you headed into the late game.
Yeah, because I tried to be as proactive as possible prior to this, like that, playing it this tournament, and I feel like I always lost the mirror. And I just kind of thought of it, if anyone plays Hearthstone, as like the control warrior versus control warrior matchup, where you don't want to be the first one to do something. I felt more comfortable with that, but I'm not sure if it's actually optimal. So hopefully I can see
Yeah.
some more mirrors and see what
And
the
if
best way
you're going to be studying on that, it's still something that needs to be explored. Ezreal Draven really took a back seat in the metagame. Is only, over the timeline has very recently, I think, started to see a little bit more play. And not only do you need to see how the mirror match has changed, but see how it changes into the current meta landscape. And so, I'm glad that you are remaining open, as our champion to also continue to learn more and grow as a player. And I'm looking forward to seeing you, in further tournaments for
Yeah.
sure to represent NA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was kind of my first opportunity to play with not having any sort of entry fee. That made it a lot more comfortable to really dip my toes into it. So I appreciate you, Sqweeby, for hosting it.
Duckling as well. Yep.
Yeah, Scarzig, Duckling, all being part of it. Great commentary. The mods for, keeping everything smooth. I've never had a tournament run that smooth. So definitely kudos to them, and
Great.
competitors were all fantastic. Nothing but great games.